So this may sound a little weird, but Lent is actually my favorite time of the year. And it's not just that I'm a glutton for punishment or anything. I'm as reluctant to give up the things I love as anybody else. But what I find year in and year out is that every year at the end of the Lent, I am a happier person, a more fulfilled person, and a person who's in a better relationship with God. And I mean, in a lot of ways, that sounds counterintuitive, that, you know, all these sacrifices and miseries that we inflict on ourselves would make us happier. But thinking about it and pondering with it this Lent, kind of came to the conclusion that it's the same reason as a lot of things in the Catholic faith: love. Really, the meat of love is sacrifice and trust. If you look at any relationship, not just relationship with God, but any human relationship, to the extent that we're willing to trust and willing to sacrifice for the other person, our relationship is going to be in a much better place, and we're going to be much more willing to love. In Lent, it's very obvious how we put forward sacrifice, but it's really only when we unite that sacrifice to trust in a way that's less obvious that we really begin to grow in love. So it's easy enough to say, okay, I give up this and this, and just bang your head against a wall for 40 days until Lent is over. But the trust that comes from realizing that God fills in the gap where those sacrifices left. So we have a tendency in life to seek after the things that make us happy in easy and gratifiable ways, especially in this present age, whether that be junk food or social media or television or video games, whatever it may be. We seek after things, and we seek after them with this mindset that I need this to be happy. But the truth of the Christian life is that our true happiness lies with God. And only by seeking deeper union with Him will we really end up happier in the long run. And I was struck by how Abram is a perfect example of this in this Sunday's readings. We see him, there's that line that a lot of us are familiar with, that Abraham's faith was credited to him as righteousness. But even right after that line, there's this little, it almost feels like a falter in trust, where he says, how can I be sure, God, that you'll fulfill these promises to me? And God's response is not what we might expect. Rather than giving him an immediate assurance of his own faithfulness, he asks Abraham to sacrifice, and to sacrifice in a big way. There's kind of a huge pile of animals that is Abraham's livelihood that he slaughters and sets out as a sacrifice for God. And then he's left to sit there with them for a few hours as the sun goes down, chasing away birds of prey. And it actually says he's enveloped in a terrifying darkness. So all of this is to make him more sure that God will fulfill his promises to him. And that's the way our sacrifices can feel sometimes. We put these things out, and, we don't feel gratified anymore the way we were when we had these things in our lives. And so we feel like we're left in darkness. But Abraham's faith, and the faith that we can have in keeping strong to our sacrifices, and the trust that we can have in God, will bear fruit. Abraham's sacrifice bore fruit in a deepening covenant with God, and our sacrifice can bear fruit in growing in love. And it certainly does. So that's why Lent is my favorite season every year, and will continue to be a cherished part of every year.